ever get that feeling, where like your gut is telling you one thing, but your brain's saying, hold on a second.
Yeah.
Like, let's think about this a little more.
Right.
Well, today, we are diving deep into that very struggle.
I like it.
Intuition versus logic.
Yeah.
And we've got this awesome Medium article called When to Trust Your Gut and When to Think Twice.
Yes.
We're going to use this to kind of break down, when do we trust that inner voice?
Yeah.
And when do we maybe
pump the brakes a little?
Pump the brakes, exactly.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, who wouldn't want to make better decisions, right?
For sure, yeah.
That's kind of what we're all about here.
Absolutely.
And one of the cool things that this article points out is that intuition and logic aren't actually enemies.
Interesting.
They're more like teammates.
Okay.
Each with their own strengths.
I like that, yeah.
So
what's fascinating is that intuition isn't just some sort of like mystical mumbo jumbo.
Exactly.
It's actually your brain making these really quick judgments.
Interesting.
Like lightning fast judgments based on patterns from your past.
Gotcha.
It's like you've got this mental library.
Oh, I like that.
Of all your...
The mental library.
Yeah. All your past wins and fails. And intuition is like the librarian who knows exactly which book to pull off the shelf in a split second.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So it's like you've been playing chess for years.
Yeah.
You just kind of like, you see the board and you're like, I know the move.
Yeah.
But you can't even really explain it logically.
Exactly.
That's kind of what you're talking about.
Exactly. That's your brain's recognition kicking in as Nobel Prize winner Herbert Simon.
Okay.
Put it.
Yeah.
And think about it. Like, the more you practice something, the better your intuition gets. In that specific area.
Interesting.
So, like, a doctor with, like, decades of experience might just spot a rare disease, like, instantly.
Yeah.
While, like, someone who's brand new to the field might miss it completely.
Totally. So you can actually train your gut by just getting more experience in a specific field.
That's right.
That's really cool. So intuition can be like a real superpower then, especially when you're in, familiar territory or need to make a quick decision.
Absolutely. Like any superpower, though, it does have its limitations. Intuition isn't foolproof.
Right.
And sometimes those gut feelings can, lead you astray.
Lead you down the wrong path.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
It's not like we're always right.
Right.
No matter how strongly we feel about something. So what are some of the things that can kind of mess with our intuition?
There are these sneaky things called cognitive biases, which are basically just mental shortcuts.
Gotcha.
Our brains take to try to, simplify the world. And sometimes these shortcuts lead to errors in judgment. Take confirmation bias. For instance, think about a time you were like totally convinced you were right about something.
Oh, yeah.
And you might have even like looked for evidence to support your view.
Right.
Even if it wasn't
the whole picture.
The full picture, right?
Oh, I've totally been there.
Have you?
Like when I was convinced this, like, stock was going to go through the roof.
Oh, yeah.
And I only like read the positive news about it.
Right.
Even though there were like warning signs everywhere. Didn't end well.
No.
Not at all.
That's a perfect example of how confirmation bias can get us into trouble.
Right.
We tend to favor information that confirms our existing beliefs.
Yeah.
Even if it's not entirely accurate.
Right, right.
And then there's availability bias.
Availability bias.
That's when, really vivid or recent events sort of distort our perception of how likely something is to happen.
Okay, so like if you see like a scary news report, you might suddenly think that. Like that thing is way more common than it actually is.
Yeah.
Even if statistically it's like super rare.
Exactly. Our brains are kind of wired to pay more attention to things that are, emotionally charged or easily recalled.
Gotcha.
And that can sometimes throw off our gut feelings.
Interesting.
And that's where logic comes in to save the day.
So, when should we be hitting the pause button?
Good question.
On those gut feelings. And maybe letting logic take the wheel.
Logic really shines in those complex, unfamiliar situations. Especially when you need to plan for the long term.
Right.
It's all about using reason, facts, and data to thoroughly analyze a situation. Let's say you're thinking about making a big investment. Relying solely on a gut feeling could be risky. Instead, you want to, carefully research the company. Analyze the financials. Really consider all the potential risks and rewards before making that decision.
So logic is like our inner detective then.
Exactly.
Carefully gathering the evidence, piecing together the puzzle.
And when it comes to, major life decisions like buying a house, choosing a career path, or even deciding whether to move to a new city, logic can help you create like a roadmap for the future.
I like that.
But it's important to remember that logic has its limitations, too.
You mean like overthinking things.
Exactly.
And getting stuck in that analysis paralysis, spending way too much time analyzing every possible outcome. You just kind of get stuck.
It can lead to indecision and inaction.
And that's why finding that right balance is so important.
It's crucial.
So knowing all this, how do we actually find that sweet spot between intuition and logic?
The article gives us a really practical 3-step approach.
Okay.
It starts by identifying what kind of decision you're actually making. Is it a quick, familiar choice? Your gut might be enough. Big, complex, unfamiliar decision. That's where you really want to engage that logic muscle.
Gotcha. So, like choosing what to wear today. Probably a gut feeling decision.
Exactly.
But deciding whether to like invest your life savings in a startup. Maybe logic's your best bet there.
Probably want to use some logic there.
Makes sense. Okay.
And then the second step, it's deceptively simple. Pause before acting. The article recommends what they call a 10-second rule.
10-second rule.
Just a quick pause to check in with yourself.
Gotcha.
Are you acting on a genuine gut feeling? Or is it just a fleeting whim? That pause can make all the difference.
It's like taking a breath before jumping in the pool. Sometimes that hesitation can save you from a cold shock.
It can.
All right. I like it.
And then that leads us to the third step. Look for alignment.
Alignment.
Does your gut feeling line up with the facts you have? When both your intuition and your logic are pointing you in the same direction, you can be much more confident in your decision.
So it's like having double confirmation. Gut saying yes, logic saying yes. You're probably on the right track.
Most likely.
But what if they're disagreeing?
What happens when your gut is screaming one thing and your logic is saying something else entirely? That's where things get really tricky.
That's where things get tricky.
And that's actually where we'll pick up in part 2 of this deep dive.
Sounds good.
Can't wait.
All right. Welcome back to the deep dive.
Yeah.
So we've been like really unpacking this idea that intuition and logic are like two sides of the same coin, right? You need both for really solid decision making.
For sure. And we just left off with this like cliffhanger. What happens?
When your gut and your brain are sending you mixed signals, what do we do?
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting. Because mastering this balance isn't just about, making better choices. It's also about building resilience.
Resilience.
So think about it. When life throws you a curveball, your intuition might help you like react quickly in the moment. But then your logic kind of kicks in to help you like analyze the situation, come up with a plan.
So it's like intuition gets you moving. And then logic helps you navigate.
Exactly. They work together to help you get through those tough situations. And that ability to adapt and bounce back, that's what we call resilience.
Cool.
The more you can tap into both, the better equipped you'll be to handle whatever life throws at you.
That makes a lot of sense. And the article also mentioned something about like this intuition, logic balance. Being linked to personal growth.
Interesting.
How does that work?
Well, as you become more aware of how your intuition and logic operate, you start to understand yourself a little bit better. You see your own patterns, your strengths, your weaknesses. It's like you're holding up a mirror to your own decision-making process.
I like that. So by paying attention to like how we make decisions.
Yes.
We actually learn and grow from those experiences.
Absolutely. And that continuous learning is what fuels personal growth.
Interesting.
You become more self-aware, more confident, and more open to new possibilities.
I like that.
It's a pretty amazing side effect.
It's like turning everyday decisions into opportunities for self-discovery.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
But let's get back to like those real world scenarios where your gut and your brain are like battling it out. The article uses career choices as an example.
Okay.
So what if you have this, like job offer that, like feels right in your gut.
Okay.
But logically, there are some downsides. Maybe it's a pay cut or a longer commute, something that's like making you hesitate.
That's a classic dilemma.
Yeah.
And the key is to really honor both.
Okay.
You know, that gut feeling and those logical concerns.
Yep.
So ask yourself, what is it about this opportunity that feels so right?
Okay.
Is it aligned with my values, my long-term goals?
Yeah.
And then put on that logic hat.
Okay.
And weigh the pros and cons.
Right.
Can you afford that pay cut?
Yeah.
Is the commute manageable? Can you mitigate any potential downsides?
So it's about finding a way to
It really is.
make it work.
Yeah.
Emotionally and practically.
Exactly. And sometimes that means getting creative.
Okay.
Maybe you can negotiate a signing bonus to offset the pay cut.
Okay.
Or find ways to make that commute more enjoyable.
Yeah.
The point is to really explore all those options and find a solution that feels right.
Right.
On both of those levels.
On both levels. Okay, what about relationships?
Yeah, relationships.
The article touched on that too.
They can be tricky.
Yeah.
Because they're so emotionally charged.
Right. So let's say like you have this nagging feeling that something's off.
Yeah.
Your gut's telling you to pay attention.
Okay.
But you're not sure if you should address it directly or just like wait and see.
Ignoring your intuition in a relationship can be like ignoring a smoke alarm.
Okay.
It's a signal that something needs attention.
Right.
But you don't want to react impulsively either.
Right. So how do you find that balance?
So take some time to reflect what specifically is causing that uneasy feeling.
Okay.
Is it a change in behavior?
Okay.
A lack of communication?
Gotcha.
Once you've kind of identified the issue, think about how you can address it in a calm and constructive way.
So it's about acknowledging those gut feelings.
Yes.
But also being strategic.
Exactly.
About how you respond.
Right. And remember, clear communication is key. Yeah. Instead of like accusing or blaming, focus on expressing your feelings, your needs.
Gotcha. And finally, what about those big purchases that can really make or break your budget?
We've all been there. You see that amazing new gadget or that gorgeous piece of furniture, your gut's like, buy it now.
Right.
But logically, you should probably sleep on it. Yeah, this is where impulse control becomes super important. Right. Ask yourself, is this something I truly need and will use? Does it align with my values and priorities? Or am I just caught up in the excitement of the moment?
Right.
If it's the latter, chances are you'll regret that purchase later.
It's like having a little like angel and a little devil on your shoulders. Yeah. The angel's all about like the long-term goals, financial responsibility. And the devil's like, treat yourself. You deserve it.
You work hard.
You deserve it.
You got to find a way to make peace between them.
That's a great analogy.
Okay.
And that's where logic comes in.
Right.
To help you weigh the practicalities. Okay. Can you afford it? Have you researched the product thoroughly?
Right.
Do you really need it?
Yeah.
Or is there like a more
affordable alternative?
Right. So it's about taking a step back.
Exactly.
Looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And making sure that purchase aligns with like your overall financial goal.
You're exactly. Now the article wraps up with this critical thinking challenge.
Critical thinking challenge. Okay.
I think this would be a great exercise for our listeners.
Okay.
It encourages you to think back on a recent decision, big or small.
Okay.
And analyze the role that both intuition and logic played.
So it's like taking a deep dive into your own decision-making process.
Ask yourself, what was my gut feeling?
Yeah.
What logic did I use? How did they work together?
Okay.
And ultimately, am I happy with the outcome?
That's such a great way to like
It is.
Learn from our own experiences and become more aware of how our minds work.
Right. And remember, the goal isn't to beat yourself up over past decisions.
Yeah.
It's to gain insights and develop a more balanced approach moving forward.
This has been so insightful. I feel like I have a whole new set of tools to help me navigate those tricky decisions.
Me too. And we're not done yet. In the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore some practical exercises to help you sharpen both your intuition and your logic. So stay tuned.
Can't wait. Welcome back to the deep dive. So we've been talking about this fascinating, interplay between intuition and logic, and how finding that right balance can help us make better decisions, become more resilient. But how do we actually put all this into practice?
Well, that's the exciting part.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just understand these concepts intellectually.
Right.
You need to actually develop and strengthen both.
Okay.
Your intuition and logic.
Gotcha.
And the great news is these aren't just fixed traits. They're actually skills that you can hone over time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's if someone is listening right now and they're like, okay, this all sounds good in theory, but where do I even start?
That's a great question.
Yeah. What's their first step?
Start by paying attention.
Yeah.
Become a detective of your own mind.
Okay.
So throughout your day, just notice those moments when you're leaning on your gut. Right. And when you're finding yourself analyzing and weighing options.
Gotcha.
Even small everyday decisions. Yeah. What to eat for lunch,
Right.
Which route to take to work.
Yeah.
Those can actually offer valuable insights.
Yeah. It's becoming more aware of the inner workings of your own mind.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah. And as you become more aware of your own patterns, you can start to experiment with some of those techniques we talked about.
Right.
Remember the 10-second rule?
Yeah.
Try pausing before you make a decision.
Right.
Just that quick check-in to see, is this a real gut feeling or is this just kind of a passing impulse?
Okay.
Right.
Gotcha.
And what about that dual decision-making exercise?
Oh, yeah, that one, yeah.
I think this could be a game changer.
I think so too, yeah.
So imagine you're facing a career decision. Right.
Okay.
Try this.
Right.
On one side of the page, list all those gut feelings, the excitement, the fear, the sense of possibility.
Okay.
On the other side, write down the logic. The salary, the commute, the growth potential.
Okay.
Seeing them side by side can be incredibly powerful.
Yeah, you get to weigh all the different factors, right?
Exactly. And make a more informed decision.
Okay.
The key is to find what works best for you.
Right.
Experiment, play around with these different techniques and see which ones really resonate.
Right. So there's not really a one-size-fits-all approach.
Exactly. There isn't a one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to intuition and logic.
Yeah. Cool. Okay.
And remember, this is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
There will be times when you make decisions that you later regret.
Totally.
Yeah. Or when you feel like you're second-guessing yourself.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That's all part of the process. It's we're constantly evolving and refining our approach to decision-making.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And the more you practice, the more adept you will become at recognizing those whispers of intuition and knowing when to engage that analytical mind. It's about building trust in yourself and your ability to make wise choices.
This has been so great. I feel like I have a whole new perspective on decision-making and a real renewed sense of confidence, actually.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. It's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you.
Likewise. And to all our listeners out there, we hope you feel inspired to, embrace your own decision-making journey. Remember, you have the power to make choices that align with your values, your goals, and your intuition.
Yeah, and one last thought to leave you with. As you move forward, pay attention to those moments when your intuition and logic are in perfect harmony. Those are the moments when you're truly in alignment with your best self.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us on the Deep Dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep trusting yourself.